know, I got
chomping
questions
at the
all
bit
over the
already.
place. What?
He's chomping at the bit
I know
already.
it. What page are we? What page are we on ourselves? Page 43? Is that where we are, Sister Andino?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Page 43. We're at darkness and the death of the firstborn. All right?
What chapter in Exodus?
Okay, we're in the 11 and verse 8 in Exodus. Chapter 11 and verse 8 in the book of Exodus. All right. Let's go back and recap just a little bit. So, some of you weren't here, and I think I told you that there were 9 Hebrew words for locust. All right, and 7 of them are the stages of locust development. We talked about that. We talked about the plague of the locust, and also the plague of locusts. What did all the world look upon as a locust plague? Judgment from God. No matter what society are you in, it was a judgment from God if the locust plague came. And then darkness. How about darkness? And there's a word in Greek that is very indicative of this kind of darkness in the book of Jude, and the book of Hebrews talks about this darkness. What is the word? Do you remember what that was? David? Mike?
What? I didn't hear this.
Scotia, sophon. Sophon, scotia. Thick pea soup darkness. And I said pea soup. Somebody said, oh boy, I hate this stuff. Pea soup darkness. All right. Thick darkness. Darkness that you can feel. Darkness that closes in on you. But all of the religious world that is in false religion is called what? Darkness. Darkness in the world. Jesus said, you love darkness rather than light. And they would not come to me that they might have life. All right. So there we are. Now we get down to the firstborn. All right, the firstborn. All right. Let's have a word of prayer, and we're going to dive into this. Dr. John, would you lead us in prayer, please, brother?
Sure. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for Jim and all that he does for this class, and his wife, for all the material they put into this class, Lord. We thank you for the people that are here, and those that are not here, Lord, we pray that you'll bring them back safely next week. We pray that you'll just touch our heart with your word, Lord, that we can learn more and bring it to other people, Lord, that don't know you. We thank you for these things again. All these things, amen.
Amen. All right, now the death of the firstborn. All right. Usually, who is the heir? Firstborn. The firstborn is usually the heir. Why did Henry VIII kill all his wives or divorce them?
No boys.
Huh?
No boys.
Any boys?
All of his firstborn were girls. He didn't like that. So he kept excusing them, either with an axe or by divorce, until he finally had a woman that brought forth a child, which was Edward. All right? And so he had a firstborn, but he didn't live very long. Edward's always kind of sickly, and he croaked before, well, he was on the throne, all right, but he didn't live very long. And then the girls took over. All right? Firstborn is usually the heir. I don't know about Pharaoh's case here. Pharaoh must not have been the firstborn, because he would have been a dead duck if he had. All right? So we'll look at this now. Exodus 11. Exodus, the 11th chapter. So God is dealing with Pharaoh. By the way, after the 6th plague, Pharaoh hardened his heart by himself 10 times. It says in the Word of God that Pharaoh hardened his own heart 10 times. Keep that in mind. There is a point of no return. In the Bible, in theology, there is a point of no return. We don't know where that point is, nor can we see it. Okay? Brother Bill. All right, now, you had a question.
Okay, you got me thinking again.
All right, okay.
So I'm studying last night, perhaps the night before last, I'm studying again. Lucifer, meaning shining light, light beyond
Light
reason.
carrier.
Light beyond reason.
Light carrier.
Yeah. I can't find in the Bible where God extinguished that light yet. So that means that he is still carrying that light until he is cast for the last time into hell, right?
No.
I can't
No,
find...
Lucifer became the man of darkness after that. God created the heavens and the earth. All right, it says Barashit, Bara, Elohim, Et Hashemayim, we Et Hars. He created the heavens and the earth, okay? And all of it was perfect and in harmony. It says God did not create anything formless and void. Then in Genesis 1 or 2 it says, and the earth she became formless and void. And what was it, the next verse there? And what? Darkness became. All right, before that, evidently God was the light. And Lucifer made every angel in some way typified some attribute of God. And Lucifer exemplified the light-carrying ability of God, but because he sinned and went against God and opposed God, he became the author of darkness. Okay? The author of darkness. Brother Walter.
Somewhere in the New Testament, it says that often Satan will appear to Christians as an angel of light. Now, where did he get that light?
Okay, an angel of light, yes. An angel of light. Because he was a light carrier. All right? And in false religion, who created false religion?
Well, it's Satan.
Satan. And in false religion, they always have some apostle, don't they? Or some great leader. Some angel of light, so to speak. But every one of them will lead you away from the person of God. Okay? Every one of them will lead you away from the person of God. All right, Brother Bill. He is in darkness today, everything. And it says that some of the angels that rebelled against him were so powerful that they had to be put down in the bottomless pit in thick darkness and kept there. All right? Now, he is not. Lucifer is still on the prod today. He's called the god of this world. I hear so many people say that I don't like God, the God of the Bible, because the God of the Bible causes all this sickness and everything else. In this world, causes all of the peril, all the storms and all this stuff. I don't like God, any God that would allow that. Well, who does it? Who is in that? It's not God. It's Lucifer. And he has a reign. Today he's on a chain. All right? He can only do so much. If you're one of God's people, if you go back and read the book of Job, you'll find out that Job had barriers around him, every one of those barriers, and God's children have those barriers too. Satan cannot kill you. We know that. Satan cannot take your life, but he can do a lot of things too. God allows his children sometimes when they're being bad to be abused by Satan. All right? Well, they chose this pathway, so just let them see what this guy is going to do for them for a while. All right? We have hamartiogenic illness. What does that mean? Sin causes illness. The Corinthian letter says sometimes some people get sick because, and I'm not saying that if you're sick, God is beating on you. No. All right? Well, our bodies deteriorate. That's the fact. They deteriorate. Even at 83 years old, they deteriorate. A little bit, brother. Yeah, no deterioration until now, okay? But our bodies deteriorate because we're all going to die. We're not going to get out of this world alive unless the rapture comes. Okay? And then even the body's got to be changed. Even then. Okay? So we have sin caused illness, and we have sin caused hamartiogenic, sin caused death. It says some of them are sick, it says, and some of them are dead. Who do we know that God zapped in the New Testament that were church members?
Ananias
and Sapphira, because they wouldn't give. Right. They lied. All right? They gave, but they didn't give right. What they said they gave, they didn't give. All right. God will get it one way or the other. He got it from their lives, didn't he? I remember one preacher was telling me one time he vowed to God that he was going to double tithe. 1 month he tithed all right, but his sister needed a car fixed, so he took the other part of that tithe and gave to his sister instead of giving it to the Lord and the church. He said, well, I just thought I might as well support somebody else, you know. Well, something happened to him that month, and God got the tithe. The other one. He said, from that time, he said, I have done what I said I was going to do from that one time on. Well, does that answer your question, Brother Bill, about Lucifer? Lucifer is no longer a light. Lucifer is an angel of light in false religion only. God called out his church and set it in motion, and it's going to be his representative until he comes back for it. All right. Any other questions on that line? We kind of,
I'm glad you cleared that out.
all right. Let's go on here now. Exodus 11th chapter. Exodus chapter 11. Let's look here. We're going to find out that a lot of these people are going to die. But you know something? This plague didn't affect Pharaoh to the positive side, but a lot of people in Egypt believed. If you go to the book of Revelation, are there some Gentiles saved in Revelation? In the end times over here in this tribulation period that the world's going to go into this period, this last 7-year period?
Oh, yes, multitude.
A lot of them's going to be saved. But how many, what percentage of people are going to die during the tribulation of Gentiles? What percent?
Well, at least half of them.
5, 6 of them.
5, 6. That's it, boy. You got it. All right. 5, 6 are going to die. Now, some of them that are dead probably are saved. Some of them are dead, probably will be with the Lord. All right. How many Jews are going to die during the tribulation period? Brother Mike, you got that one too?
2/3 of the Jews.
2/3 of the Jews are going to die. 1/3 is going to make it. So 1/6 of the Gentile nations are going to make it into the millennium in their human bodies, and 1/3 of the Jews are going to make it into the millennium in their human bodies, that 1,000-year reign. Okay? Now, so many things in the book of Exodus relate to the book of Revelation. We see it repeated over in the end time. All right. Now let's go on and see what we got here. Now the Lord said to Moses, one more plague will I bring upon Pharaoh on Egypt. After that he will let you go here, from here. And when he lets you go, he will surely drive you out. All right? Now speak in the hearing of the people. Make sure that the people can hear, everybody. Because some people are going to believe. Sister Andina.
I think that we stopped last Sunday.
Oh, I'm just running real fast up there. Okay,
okay.
We're just, and then I'm going to, this is just a speed reading thing right here, okay? Yeah, we're going to go to number 8, wasn't it?
Yes.
Verse number 8. All right. Hearing of the people, and each man asked from his neighbor, and each woman from her neighbor for articles of silver and gold. In Exodus 3, 9 through 22, and Genesis 15, 13, and 14, God had prophesied hundreds of years before this happened, what was going to happen. He told about Pharaoh way back then, before Pharaoh was ever born, before the nation of Egypt was even in his power or in his family's power. One other man in history that God spoke his name, and when he heard his name read from the Old Testament scriptures, he believed, and he gave him who was that? Cyrus. All right, and that was in Daniel's time. Okay, when he heard his name recorded in history before he ever even was, that ought to shock you. But I told you last week, and even tonight, this afternoon in my class on justification, God wrote our names in the Lamb's Book of Life. He whispered our names millennia ago. Wally, Louise, Dr. John, Sister Andina, Brother David, millennia ago, millions of years ago, maybe. He whispered our names and wrote our names down in the Lamb Book of Life before we ever were. All right? God is able to do that because He's what? What attribute?
Omniscient.
Omniscient. All right. He knows it all. That's right. Articles, silver and gold. Verse number 3. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. See there? Changed their hearts. When you get their hearts, you got their pocketbook coming. That's what I'm saying. Furthermore, the man Moses himself was greatly esteemed in the land of Egypt, more than Pharaoh. Now, both in the sight of Pharaoh's servants and the sight of the people. And Moses said, Thus saith the Lord, thus saith Jehovah, about midnight, what? I am going out. Not an angel, not the angel of death. I want you to challenge you to find your angel of death in the Bible. It's not there. There was no death angel out there. This is Jehovah Himself. I am going out in the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the slave girl who is behind the millstones, and all the firstborn of all the cattle as well. Even the animals are going to die. All the firstborn of the animals are going to die. Period. That's it. Number 6. Moreover, there shall be a great cry in all the land of Egypt, such as there has not been before, and such as shall never be again. But against any of the sons of Israel, a dog shall not point his tongue. That's what it literally says in the original language. He won't bark. He won't point his tongue. Some people have sharp tongues. All right? It said a dog shall not point his tongue. He won't even raise his voice. He won't growl. He won't do anything. Whether against man or beast, that you may understand, that you may completely understand, that you may completely know how that the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. There is a difference. Number 8. Now here we are. Brother Wally.
Okay. And all these thy servants shall come down unto me, and bow down themselves unto me, saying, Get thee out, and all the people that follow thee, and after thee that will I go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in a great anger.
All right, now what in the world happened here? What happened in this situation? Why did they go out? Who was mad? Who got so mad? Pharaoh did. Pharaoh, he said, you won't see me alive again. I'll have you killed. Whatever. You'll never see me standing up alive again. You're done for, Buster. Get out of here and don't come back. And when he was leaving, he spoke these words. God got the last word. God got the last word. Number 9, Brother Mike.
Then the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh will not listen to you, so that my wonders will be multiplied in the land of Egypt.
All right, Brother Luis, what does it say there? Who is Lord there?
And Jehovah.
Jehovah. What does Jehovah mean?
He
He who shall become. This is the God of Egypt. He's the God of Israel. He's all of their God. Egypt had gods, but they were nothing. God overcame every one of them. He fought against all of them. These gods, this is a contest of the gods. What happened on Mount Carmel later between Elijah and the prophets of Baal? God won, and God rained fire down out of heaven and zapped them, didn't he? All right. Number 9. Number 9. Let's look over here. Brother Wallace.
Okay. And the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt.
That my wonders, my miracles may be multiplied. Pharaoh won't listen to you. Now why? Did God make him not listen? What happened to Pharaoh? Pharaoh hardened his heart against God until he hardened it, and he hardened it, and he hardened it, and finally God helped cement it. That's that. is over with. That my miracles may be multiplied in Egypt. Why? Why were all these miracles necessary? Why were they necessary? What do you think?
To prove that the gods of this world cannot stand before our own God.
All right. How long had Israel been down there? 430 years. Do you think that a little bit of that false religion rubbed off on them? God's churches, you think a little bit of Protestantism and the false religion rubbed off on us just a little bit? I think so. All you have to do is just look around. It does. God needed to perform all these miracles in the front of the believers. These miracles were for the believers. Some of them hadn't believed yet, but they would. Some of them hadn't believed yet, but they would believe. Why did the miracles in the church age, why did they take place? To confirm the message of the messengers. Why did the miracles, why were they performed here? To confirm the message of the validity of the messengers. All right? We're going to see some things later on. Boy, I mean some fantastic stuff. And verse number 10, David. You in that Episcopalian Bible?
Yes, sir.
All right. As long as you don't call it a Baptist book, that's all.
And Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh. And the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of his land.
The Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart because he had hardened his heart. He had given his heart to the devil, to darkness. God even gave one miracle of darkness, didn't he? Didn't he have a miracle of darkness? And how long were they in the miracle of darkness? 3 days they were in darkness. God told Pharaoh, you like hell and you like the devil and you like false religion. This is what it's going to be like for a while. I'll give you a little preview of coming attractions. Didn't do him any good, did it? Chapter number 12. Chapter 12. Tony, or can you read that for me? 12 and verse 1?
Now the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying,
Go ahead.
This month shall be your beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you.
All right. This is something that's very important. Circle that. Put an X out by it. Asterisk, whatever you want to put there. Put a happy face or something out there besides it. Because this is a very important place in the Bible. This is the beginning of Israel as a nation. This is the beginning of God's firstborn. Right here. Now we had Abraham, we had Isaac, we had Jacob, all this before. But as a nation, this is the beginning of the nation of Israel right here. And this is where their calendar begins. Because this is where they begin as a nation. This is where God...
What month did they call that? Nissan or something?
I can't remember the first month. Brother Mensick, if he was here, he could tell you. I can't remember the first month. All right.
March.
What?
I said March and April.
March and April, probably. Yeah, it's that time of the year, somewhere around April. I think it's in April.
That's what it says right here in my Bible.
Oh, is it? That's what it says? I probably told you that before. The Hebrew name of it, I don't remember.
It's Nisan or
Nisan or something like that.
Abib and Nisan.
N-N-I-S-S-I-A-N.
Okay, there you go. All right. Get my old students, see, when I still had a brain. All right, the first month, all right? Speak to all the congregation of Israel on the 10th of this month. They are each one to take a lamb for themselves according to their father's households, a lamb for each household. All right, this term keeps coming up. I want you to get it. This in Latin is what called what? Paterfamilia. Paterfamilia, that means the father of the family. In Hebrew, in Greek, it's called patria. Okay? Patria, that means the family of the father. All right? And in Hebrew is mashpatha. The family of the father. Each head of each family, his immediate family, and how many people, later on we find out how many people, there's got to be at least how many people per lamb to eat this lamb. You remember? How many is it? Did I tell you that before sometime 30 years ago? Probably got that down too. 10 per family. 10 per family. So you can write that down. It has to be at least 10 people. All right? If a man was so poor and he did not have any children that he couldn't make up 10, somebody adopted him into their family so they'd have at least 10, or they might have 13 or 14 in there. But there at least had to be 10 people in there. Later on we find out the synagogues were around that same little patria, paterfamilia, meshpatha. All right? Very important. That's something you need to write down there too. This would happen and be carried on. Why was the Passover to be an eternal ordinance? Why was it to be an everlasting ordinance? You know what? To remember what?
The death of our Lord.
Remember that God bought you out of slavery. That God bought you out of slavery. I'm going to tell you something today. God still buys you out of slavery. When you believe and you're born again, you're bought out of slavery. People are enslaved in sin and the riches of this world. They are. They're enslaved in it. They think that they're rich and famous and whatever, but they're enslaved in it. They're enslaved in it. One other time in American history, back in the late 1800s, almost the turn of the century, America we were caught up in in a revolution of machinery and great business and everything else. At about this same time, that's when Sunday schools were started. Sunday schools were started. Why were Sunday schools started? We're in Sunday school today. What is the history of our Sunday school classes? Why are Sunday schools? Why were they started?
Was it to get the children out of having to go to work? Or?
Well, big business had gotten so big and so powerful, they had complete control of society, and it took everybody in a family to support a family. So the children had to go to work at 5 years old to help support, to put food on the family. And remember old Tennessee Ernie Ford, 16 tons, and another day older and deeper in debt, my soul is sold to the what?
The company
The company store, and that's exactly like it was. The preachers got up and they preached against this terrible sin. These people were so rich, and they were... We had in America had become European. We had the super wealthy, and we had, which was a minority, and everybody else were slaves. But really, even the super wealthy were in slavery, their opulent lifestyle. So much different than the rest of the world. Pharaoh was like that, wasn't he? The first Pharaoh that Joseph dealt with became the richest man in the world because he listened to God. From that time on, down to where we are now, this Pharaoh would not listen to God. All right, let's go on a little further now. A lamb for each household, the paterfamilia, the mashpatha, the patria. Okay? Now, if the household is too small for a lamb, what's it say to do here, Brother John?
Let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of the persons. According to each man's need, you shall make your count for the lamb.
All right, you shall divide the lamb. So there had to be at least 10 people per lamb. You can write that one down, or at least 10 people per lamb, because it would take them. Because none of this lamb wanted to be left over, was it? Not one bit of the lamb was to be left over, because that lamb stood for whom? The Lord Jesus Christ. It's a sin to waste His flesh and blood, isn't it? Why are those people, we talk about limited atonement. According to 1 John 2 and 2, who did Jesus Christ die for?
Oh, man.
What did even Calvin say? This was a door of grace open to all human beings. All human beings. Every man. Every man has a right and a hope of salvation because Jesus Christ died for all mankind. All mankind.
Yeah, but he contradicted himself, didn't he?
He contradicted himself in his first part of life. Calvin was just like Arminius. Arminius started out as a Calvinist, and the further he got in life, he went the other way. Calvin started out as a hyper-Calvinist, and at the end of his life, he was almost normal. They changed. Both of their views changed historically.
No.
All right. Number 5. Number 5. Brother Luis.
A lamb without defect, a male in year, old shall be yours be. From the sheep or from the goats you should take it.
All right. Your lamb shall be unblemished, male of 1 year old. That's in the prime of his life, by the way. And you may take it from the sheep or from the goats. So it's going to be most valuable. That's the top. That is the best. What did God give you to save you? The best, because He Himself did it. And number 6.
Take special care of this chosen animal until the evening of the 14th day of this first month. Then the whole assembly of the community of Israel must slaughter their lamb or young goat at twilight.
All right. Now this is another thing that you learn a little bit about. Okay. And you shall keep it from the 14th day of the same month. In other words, there's going to be only 4 days here. All right. You're going to keep it, and you're going to watch it. You're going to watch everything about it. Make sure that this lamb doesn't get a bruised foot. It doesn't get hurt or hurt itself. You watch this because this is what's going to be your salvation. This is your salvation. Did Israel watch Jesus? Did the whole nation of Israel watch Jesus and just with a fine-tooth comb discriminately watch Him? He had not a fault, not one thing. Now it says at twilight, kill at twilight. Now what time is that, basically?
Sundown.
This is where we have 2 sundowns. All right? There are 2 of them sometimes. This is between 3 and 6 p.m., by the way. Between 3 and 6. Evening starts at 3. All right? And they considered the next day. All right? When does the next day begin to a Jew? When does the next day begin with a Jew? I know you know it, Mike. When does the next day begin? It's 6 p.m. 6 p.m. tonight, it's tomorrow to a Jew. Do you know that? That's tomorrow. So, the first evening is at 3. The last evening is at 6. So between 3 and 6 o'clock, that's when it's going to... Did you know that, Brother Wally? You probably did. All right. Between 3 and 6 p.m. 6 p.m. after that is tomorrow. All right? So between 3 and 6 p.m., you are going to kill the lambs. Kill the lamb. What time did Jesus die on the cross? When? 3 o'clock.
At the same time, the
same
priests
time
were
the sacrifice was
making
being
the sacrifice.
sacrificed.
And then the veil was
Yeah.
rent from top to bottom.
Yeah. Jesus died at 3 o'clock. It was dark. Was it dark in Egypt at noon? High noon? Did God overcome their God of the high noon? When the sun was highest in the sky? Oh, yes, it did. Now, really, you know what God's telling Israel was celebrating the Passover. You know what God told Israel there that day? You chose darkness rather than light. And right at the 3 o'clock period, when they were bringing in the lambs, between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock, the lambs, there was a lot of lambs being sacrificed, people, all the way from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock that day. They were sacrificing a solid line of lambs out there. They were all lined up from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock that day. But the very first lambs that were sacrificed was when Jesus died on the cross of Calvary. From 12 noon to 3 o'clock there was darkness. And then there was earthquakes and thunder. What was one of the plagues in Egypt? Thunder and lightning. Do you think that there was thunder when there wasn't lightning there? Think about that. Let's go on. Where did we end up there? Number 7. Number 7. Sister Andino.
And they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 door posts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat it.
All right. Now they're going to, here is a doorpost in a house like this. These are doorposts. So they would put blood here. They would smear the blood here, by the way, and paint the blood here and paint the blood there. Now, just draw a line like this. What did that typify? Huh? The cross of Calvary. Was crucifixion invented yet? No. Crucifixion wasn't even invented yet. That didn't bother the God of the Bible, did it? That tabernacle. Look at how the tabernacle is. The tabernacle also, when you draw a line down through here and you draw a line like that, what do you have? A cross. Was crucifixion invented when that was built? No. That was later than this. This is going to be just a few months later when all this takes place. Weeks. But both of them draw a cross. Because Jesus Christ would die on the cross. Psalm 22. Psalm 22 was written by David. Isaiah 53, it talks about the cross of Calvary. It talks about Jesus being nailed to the cross and his bones were all pulled out of joint. But crucifixion was not invented then, was it? Who invented crucifixion? The original crucifixion, the stauros. Who invented that? Huh? Who first invented it? You remember?
Persians?
No.
Assyrians?
Who? Who said that? My brother, that's who I thought. Yes, the Assyrians did. The Ninevites. The Assyrians are the Ninevites. They invented it. And it was a stake, just like a single stake. And they would place people up there, and through the bottom of their body, they would drive slowly. They would grease this sharp stake and put them on top of it, and as it went up through their organs, it would slowly kill them. And then the Romans developed it into a stake where they would nail their hands to, and by the time Jesus came, it was a cross stake. All right? That's what it was about. Go on a little bit further. Now, each household's got to have this blood smeared on it. On the top and on the sides. On the doorway. Number 8. Number 8. Brother David.
And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
All right. And they shall eat the flesh the same night. That night. Not going to be left over. That night. That very night. Roasted with fire. Okay, roasted with fire. And they shall eat it with unleavened bread. What kind of bread was the Lord's Supper instituted with? The Lord's Supper and this supper are the same supper, people. Israel looked forward to the Messiah. And we look back and remember the Messiah. All right? Unleavened bread. And what does unleavened bread mean? Bread that doesn't have any yeast in it.
No sin.
All right, no yeast in it. And yeast in the Bible, or leaven, is a type of what?
Sin.
Sin. All right, type of sin. Did Jesus have sin in him? No. Was he even related to the sinful side of the human race? No. Now, what did I mean by that?
Came through the virgin.
All right.
Blood.
The sinful side of who in the human race gives the sin nature and the death nature to the child?
Blood from man.
Thank you, young lady. The man does. The man is the one that introduces death
Sure,
into
blame it on us.
May as well, brother. If God hadn't said it, they would have.
Blame it on us.
That's what God said. The truth is there. That's the way it is. I don't care how mean your wife is. She does not give the sin nature to the child. It's you. You are the fault of it. And our Messiah did not have a human father. He had a body that his mother gave him. And Mary was a woman just like any other woman. All right, she was a woman just like any other woman. That's all. I mean, no different. She was just a young woman that God chose to bring forth that Messiah. She didn't have an immaculate conception. She wasn't taken into heaven afterwards. Go right up to heaven. She wasn't taken up to heaven. She was a woman. She had children afterwards. She was a sinner. Jesus had to die for her sins too. She was not the co-redeemer, as the Catholic Church said. She was not a co-redeemer. She was just a woman. All right.
What is the bitter herbs a reference to? Is that a reference to the herbs that he was given just
Well, they
brought to his
had
lips
a
before he died, or
okay. In Greek, it's called pikris, which means bitter, and cedris. Now, these are herbs, wild lettuce, which is bitter. The bitterness stood for the bitter slavery they had. You know, when we're saved, we ought to look back upon our lives as we had before and be thankful that God brought us out of the slavery of this world and the slavery of sin. You are slaves to your sins. Many people won't be saved because they don't want to give up their sin lives. They don't want to give it up. All right? They don't want to give it up. Pikris and cedris, those are the two words. All right? Go on. We're about to turn you loose on the world here in a minute. Now, Brother Mike, number 9.
Do not eat any of it raw or boiled at all with water, but rather roasted with fire, both its head and its legs along with its entrails.
Okay, Jesus gave it all, didn't he? All right, all of it. Number 10. Go on, Brother Mike.
And you shall not leave any of it over until morning, but whatever is left of it until morning you shall burn with fire.
All right. Brother David Ratcher. All right. You shall leave any of it over until morning. You'll burn it with fire.
Now you shall eat it in this manner, with your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover.
All right. The word Passover, what's the word Passover mean? What's it mean? Passover. We call it the Paschal Lamb. What does it mean? What's Passover?
Just what it says. If I see the blood, I will pass
Hop over you. I will hop over you. It's a hop over, is what it is. I will pass over, I will hop over you. That house wouldn't have judgment on it. He would hop over that
sign
house.
of our redemption?
Yeah, it's a sign of our redemption. Now we're going to quit right there, and we're going to come back there next week. 12 and verse 11. Right there is where we're going to start next week. I hope you enjoyed this class this week. Hope you learned something from it. Come back next week. We'll see if we can get some more syllabus also. I think we're out of our syllabus right now. But we'll see if we can get some more of these printed up for you. By the way, I got to tell you this too. This was our, well, actually, our last week was our first day in the medium adults. We're no longer in the singles department, even though we have single people here. You guys can keep on coming. We're not going to leave you because it is an open class still. They haven't closed it yet at this time. And anyway, you may not feel any different, but we're in a different section. All right? And invite your friends. I know some, in the past, people wouldn't come to our class because it was a singles class. Men wanted to come to the class, and their wives didn't want them to go because they thought they were going to meet all these single women. Now, I'm not kidding you. All right? I'm not kidding. So now you can come and don't worry about it. So all those guys that didn't get to come because their wives wouldn't let them can come to the class now. Brother David.
We're invited.
Yeah.
Now you can safely invite guys without getting worked over by their wives.
First, I'd like to welcome Sam Brandon over there.